He'd never admit it out loud, but a lot of people only start a spiritual awakening when life gets loud enough to interrupt the autopilot called reality. That's why a comet, this messy, glowing traveler, can feel like a spiritual portal opening in the sky, as if the universe is tapping the soul on the shoulder and saying, "Hey, remember the higher self?" The counterintuitive truth is that the comet doesn't bring new energy. It reveals what's already vibrating inside consciousness, including energetic hypersensitivity, spiritual isolation, and the hunger for self-knowledge. And yeah, it's funny. Humans ignore their inner peace for months, then one fuzzy dot shows up and suddenly everyone wants mysticism with a side of enlightenment. So the celestial prophecy is really an invitation. Use the moment to spark transformation, personal development, and spiritual growth before the sky's window closes again. Topic 1. The sign in the sky. He notices the first shift before he even names it. A quiet calling to look up, to pause, to breathe, to remember he's part of the universe and not just a calendar notification with legs. When something like C2024E1 Wierskos is visible from both hemispheres and reachable with binoculars under dark skies, it becomes a shared mirror. Millions of people staring at the same patch of night, tasting the same awe. That collective attention can feel like a gentle awakening, a reminder that spirituality doesn't have to be complicated to be real. The comet's glow doesn't argue or debate, it just shows up, and that simplicity can soften a guarded mind. And once the mind softens, the door to healing and personal growth tends to crack open on its own. He also learns a practical lesson. Awakening needs a container, not just a vibe. If he wants to elevate your soul, yes, even the phrasing can make him roll his eyes. He can turn one comet viewing into a repeatable ritual. 10 minutes outside, phone on airplane mode, 3 slow breaths, then a single question to the true self. What am I avoiding? This is spirituality grounded in reality. He's not escaping his life. He's upgrading his relationship with it. He might even track it like an experiment, journal 1 paragraph after each viewing, noting energy, emotions, and any 7 symptoms of stress or awakening he recognizes. The point isn't perfection. It's self-knowledge built through tiny reps, and that naturally tees up the next stage. When the sky event intensifies, so does the inner pressure to change. He hears people whisper about the next big one, and the hype starts to swell, because humans love a prophecy they don't have to work for. But comets are famously unpredictable, and even the promising ones can fade, fragment, or surprise everyone, which is exactly why the lesson lands. Attachment creates suffering while presence creates inner peace. If he watches the story in his own head, this has to mean something. He'll catch how quickly the ego tries to turn mystery into control. That's where the mentor's wink comes in. The universe doesn't hand out certainty coupons. Still, the sky keeps hinting there's another energetic portal ahead, one that could be brighter, faster, and far more intense. Topic 2. When uncertainty becomes the teacher. By late March into early April 2026, attention shifts to Comet C 2026, A1, MAPS, a sun grazer with a narrow observing window and a giant question mark. Will it survive its extremely close pass by the sun? That uncertainty is not a flaw. It's the curriculum. In spiritual development, the biggest upgrades often arrive wrapped in, "I don't know yet," because not knowing forces consciousness to stop performing and start listening. He may feel energetic hypersensitivity during this period, restlessness, vivid dreams, a buzzing need to declutter his life, because his nervous system is picking up on anticipation more than on facts. The comet becomes a mirror for his inner weather. Is he grounded, or is he spiraling? If MAP survives, projections suggest it could brighten quickly in early April, possibly becoming a striking object after sunset, especially for southern latitudes, though outcomes remain highly uncertain. This is where he can practice spirituality like a disciplined artist, not a superstitious spectator. He prepares for beauty without demanding it. Practical move. He creates a calm kit for the Skywatch: water, a light jacket, a simple compass app, and a short guided meditate track saved offline, because inner peace loves preparation. Another move. He sets a boundary with doom scrolling, since fear-based content hijacks energy faster than any comet can. If the sky delivers a show, great. If not, he still grows. And if Maps doesn't survive and instead breaks apart and fades, that disappointment becomes a masterclass in awakening. He learns that the universe isn't obligated to entertain him. It's offering him a chance to mature. That's real spiritual growth. Not getting everything he wants, but staying connected to the higher self anyway. He can do a simple release practice. Write one expectation he's clinging to, read it under the night sky, then tear the paper and breathe out slowly. Which, of course, sets up the next topic, because soon after another comet arrives with a different flavor of prophecy. Topic 3. The Great Comet Temptation. Late April into early May 2026 brings C-2025-R3, Pan-STARRS, expected around binocular brightness, about magnitude 7 with a chance, only a chance, of brightening enough for naked eye viewing due to forward scattering. The temptation here is obvious. He starts bargaining with reality, thinking, if I see it with my own eyes, then I'll finally believe. But spirituality that depends on fireworks is fragile. It collapses when the sky is cloudy or the schedule is busy. So the mentor's advice is gently blunt. Don't outsource your awakening to a celestial event. Use the event to train attention, because attention is the gateway to transformation. He can turn this into personal development with a concrete 3-layer practice. Layer 1. Observe the comet, or try to, with patience, like a scientist of the soul. No drama if it's faint. Layer 2. Observe himself. What thoughts arise, what emotions spike, where his energy contracts, where it expands. Layer 3. Choose one real-world action within 24 hours that matches his awakening. Apologize to someone. Cancel one draining commitment. Start a 7-minute daily meditate streak. This is how mysticism stops being a fantasy and becomes healing in motion. And ironically, this is how the true self starts feeling more real than the old reality. He may also notice spiritual isolation here, the strange feeling that even surrounded by people, he's alone with his inner shifts. That's normal. Awakening can be intimate before it becomes social. A practical example. He invites one trusted friend to a no-pressure sky watch, then asks a simple question afterward. What did it make you feel? Not, what did it mean? That keeps the conversation grounded in consciousness rather than superstition, and once he experiences connection without preaching, he's ready for the deeper layers. The 7 symptoms that often surface when a spiritual portal opens internally. Topic 4. The 7 symptoms of a real shift. When the comet season stirs him, the first symptom is often heightened sensitivity. Sounds sharper, crowds heavier, the body more honest about what it can't tolerate. The second is sleep disruption, either insomnia or intense dreams, because the subconscious is doing renovation work. The third is emotional randomness, that isn't random at all. Old grief, old anger, old tenderness, all asking for healing. The fourth is a craving for solitude that can look like spiritual isolation, but is sometimes just the soul asking for quiet. And the fifth is a sudden intolerance for fake. Gossip feels gross, performative relationships feel exhausting, and the true self starts demanding air. The 6th symptom is the weirdest one. Time feels elastic. Days fly or they crawl, because consciousness is reorienting around meaning instead of urgency. The 7th symptom is the calling to serve or create, writing, art, volunteering, mentoring, building something that makes reality kinder. If he's smart, he doesn't label himself awakened like it's a trophy. He treats these symptoms as feedback. He can use a simple scale from 1-10 each night: energy level, inner peace level, and alignment with higher self. Over a few weeks, patterns appear, and self-knowledge becomes less mystical and more practical. Here's the mentor move that saves months of confusion. He distinguishes between awakening and overwhelm. Awakening expands capacity over time. Overwhelm collapses it. So he builds stabilization habits: sunlight in the morning, protein and water, movement, even a 20-minute walk, and media boundaries, because spirituality without nervous system care turns into chaos. He learns to say, "I'm not broken, I'm recalibrating." And once he stabilizes, he's ready to step into the next phase, transformation that shows up in decisions, not just insights. Topic 5. Transformation through choices. Transformation doesn't usually arrive as lightning. It arrives as a series of slightly uncomfortable choices that match the new consciousness. He begins by choosing what to stop feeding: relationships that drain energy, habits that numb, commitments that keep him in old reality. Then he chooses what to start feeding: learning, rest, craft, devotion, and small acts of courage. A comet can be the deadline his soul needed, because celestial events don't wait and neither does time. So he asks, if the universe is reminding me life is short, what do I change this week? He turns that question into a 3-action plan. Action 1. Remove one weekly obligation that doesn't align with the true self, even if it's polite to keep it. Action 2. Add one practice that builds spiritual growth. Meditate daily, read a grounded book on consciousness, or join a community that values healing without fanaticism. Action 3. Repair one thread, send one message, make one honest conversation, schedule one therapy session or coaching session if needed. This is personal development with receipts. And as he takes action, he feels something subtle. Inner peace isn't a mood anymore, it's a direction. But the ego doesn't retire quietly, so he'll be tempted to either rush or quit. The mentor's humor lands here. He can't speed-run enlightenment like it's a video game. Instead, he adopts a rhythm: observe, integrate, act, rest, like tides. He learns that every spiritual portal opens 2 ways: upward toward higher self and inward toward unresolved pain. That means the next topic is inevitable: healing the shadow that shows up once the light gets brighter. Topic 6. Healing the shadow gently. As his awakening deepens, the shadow shows up wearing familiar faces: jealousy, control, procrastination, people-pleasing, or the fear of being seen. He doesn't shame it. He studies it like a compassionate detective. This is where spirituality becomes real, not escaping the human mess, but bringing consciousness into it. A simple practice works wonders. When triggered, he pauses and names 3 things: the emotion, the need underneath, and one respectful request he can make. That's healing in real time, not just theory. He also learns to work with energy without getting lost in fantasy. If he feels energetic hypersensitivity, he can ground physically: bare feet on the floor, slow exhale, warm shower, tidy one corner of the room. He can also use information hygiene: fewer hot takes, more quiet, more nature. And if spiritual isolation hits, he reframes it as incubation, like a seed underground. He doesn't have to broadcast his spiritual awakening, he just has to live it. The deeper healing often reveals a strange truth. His inner peace was never missing, just buried under noise. When the noise drops, the soul speaks in plain language: be honest, rest, create, leave, begin. That's the calling, and it's rarely dramatic, but it's consistent, and that consistency points forward. Now he must align with the higher self not once, but daily, which leads right into spiritual discipline. Topic 7. Discipline as a spiritual technology. Discipline sounds like a buzzkill, until he realizes it's the most loving way to protect his awakening. He sets a minimum baseline that keeps his consciousness clean. 7 minutes of meditate, 10 minutes of reading, 20 minutes of movement, and 1 act of kindness per day. He tracks it simply: check boxes, not essays, because reality rewards what's repeatable. This is where spiritual development stops being inspiration and becomes a system. And once it's a system, he can ride the waves of motivation without drowning. He also creates a monthly sky ritual: Comet or no comet. One evening a month he goes outside, looks at the stars, and does an honest review. What expanded his energy? What drained it? What lesson keeps repeating? He writes 1 sentence of commitment to the true self, and 1 sentence of forgiveness for what he didn't do. That's mysticism made practical, spiritual vision without escapism. And the universe tends to meet people who show up consistently, not perfectly. As he stabilizes, something flips. He becomes less obsessed with signs and more devoted to alignment. The comet was the spark, but the fire is his daily choices. He starts noticing synchronicities, not as proof, but as encouragement, like the universe nodding, "Yep, keep going." And now the final topic emerges naturally: how to live this awakening in the world without becoming preachy, fragile, or burnt out. Topic 8. Living awakened in the real world. He learns that an awakened person isn't someone who floats above problems. It's someone who can face problems without abandoning the soul. He communicates more cleanly, sets kinder boundaries, and stops auditioning for approval. He chooses environments that match his energy, friends who feel like sunlight, work that feels meaningful, media that doesn't poison his inner peace. And when he fails, he repairs fast instead of spiraling. That's consciousness in action. He also becomes a quiet lighthouse. He doesn't try to convert anyone, but people feel safer around him. If someone asks what changed, he keeps it simple. I started listening to my higher self. If they're curious, he offers one doorway, not a lecture. Invite them to a sky watch, share a breathing practice, recommend a beginner-friendly book on personal development. Humor helps too. He can say, "Turns out my soul had emails in the spam folder." That keeps spirituality human. Finally, he understands the celestial prophecy. The comet didn't come to predict the future. It came to reveal a choice point in reality. He can return to sleepwalking, or step into transformation with consistent healing, self-knowledge, and service. The universe will keep sending mirrors, but his awakening is the decision to look honestly. And once he's tasted that, he's ready for the real adventure, living as the true self, on purpose, every day. So here's the provocative question. If a comet can pull his attention out of autopilot for one night, why can't he pull his own attention back every day? What's the one habit, relationship, or fear that his soul has been begging him to outgrow? And what would happen if he acted on that calling this week? If he wants quick reward, he can start tonight. Step outside, breathe slowly, and ask the universe for one clear next step. Then follow it, even if it's small. And if this sparked your spiritual awakening, drop a comment with the strongest 7 symptoms you've felt: energetic hypersensitivity, spiritual isolation, or that quiet hunger for inner peace. And say what you're doing to elevate your soul. Subscribe to the channel and enable notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive into spirituality, consciousness, and the next celestial sign that might just be your energetic portal.